Hello and howdy, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Gouging Fire EX. It's one of the new ancient Pokemon that got added in Temporal Forces. It has 230 HP, which is a really good number to have, because a lot of the time Pokemon are trying to hit 220, and you just want 10 more above that. It's got a really good attack with the Blaze Blitz, doing 260 damage, but it doesn't just stop at 260 damage. With our buddy Moltres over here, it has the Flare Symbol ability. It lets your basic fire Pokemon, which Gouging Fire is, do 10 more damage, and it stacks, letting us get up to 290. We only play 3. We could technically get up to 300, but there's not a whole lot of things that have 300. The only V-Star that has like 300 HP is Regigigas V-Star. So most of the time, we just need to be hitting 280 to one-shot pretty much anything that isn't a Stage 2 EX or the occasional VMAX you might run into. Very rare. Now, Gouging Fire pairs really well with his modern counterpart in Entei. We have Entei V here, has the same amount of HP at 230, but he has a really nice ability in Fleet-Footed. If this guy is in the active spot, you get to draw a card. And he has a really good attack too, Burning Rondo. It does 20 damage plus 20 more for each bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's. And he can get his damage boosted by Moltres as well. We have another really nice guy in here, an Iron Moth. I absolutely really love this card. He has an amazing ability with the Thermal Reactor. If this guy is on your bench and moves to the active spot, you get to take the fire energy across your board and move it to it. So basically, you just need to put down a Jet Energy, which says if you attach this energy to one of your bench Pokemon, you can push it up into the active. And it has a colorless there to fill the attack, so you just move 2 fire energy from the same Pokemon or two different Pokemon. It's really good as a one prize pivot, and it does do 120 damage, which can get a good number of one prize Pokemon. But we generally want to be trying to hit the 130. Even Iron Moth has 130. Radiant Greninja has 130. But thankfully, Moltres can boost this guy's damage output as well. Incidentally, our Gouging Fire and Entei all have colorless attack costs in there, so Jet Energy comes in really big in this deck. I would honestly recommend maybe playing 4. I felt like 4 was a little excessive. I toned it down to 3, but we do play plenty of Switch Carts, and we got that Prime Catcher in here too as another switch. Now, some people have been playing this deck with Max Belt, and what Max Belt does is it lets you do 50 more damage to your opponent's active EX Pokemon, effectively letting you one-shot even something like a Charizard EX. However, I didn't really like it that much in the deck. I felt like the really aggressive just power up Entei V or Gouging Fire right now and just destroy their setup it was a lot better. And we can power up Gouging Fire's 3 energy cost really quickly with just a simple combo. We have the stadium, Magma Basin, one of my favorite stadiums in the game. It says, once during your turn, each player may take a fire energy from their discard pile and attach it to one of their bench Pokemon, so it has to be on the bench. Thankfully, we have plenty of Switch Cards and Jet Energy in the deck. And it doesn't just stop there. We also have Professor Sada's Vitality, which says choose up to 2 of your ancient Pokemon and attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to each of them. So you can't attach 2 to 1. It has to be 1 between 2 or just 1. And then you get to draw 3 cards. Now, unfortunately, this doesn't let you accelerate to Entei V or Iron Moth because Entei V is just a regular V and Iron Moth is a future Pokemon. But I hope you can see where I'm going with this. You Magma Basin to a Gouging Fire on the bench, you use Professor Sada's Vitality, you place down a Jet Energy, and then Gouging Fire comes swinging in for 260 plus damage. And you could pull that off turn 1 pretty easily. And it's really easy to do with Squawkabilly and Radiant Greninja. Squawkabilly says, if this Pokemon is on your bench during your first turn, you get to use this ability, discard your hand, draw 6. So we basically get to use a Professor's Research and a Sada, or maybe a Boss's Orders if we just needed we could just swing for Entei, because Entei can attack for really cheap. We just use Magma Basin, attach energy from hand, boom, there we go. Now, of course, we're playing 4 Earthen Vessels. Missing an energy turn 1 is detrimental. We need energy in our hand, absolutely. We gotta be able to get those attacks off as quickly as possible. This deck really flows very similarly to how Miraidon used to function. Now, Miraidon is missing the Flaffy engine now, but Magma Basin kind of fills that role for this deck as well. Very similar function. We were playing some Trekking Shoes in here. It's basically just Acrobike. We don't have a whole lot of draw options outside of just like turn 1. Radiant Greninja is here, but sometimes our bench gets a little full, and he can just be a little hard to squeeze in at times. We do play 3 Iono just to try to like play some disruption. You know, if we know that they have some stuff in their hand that we don't want them having, we just go ahead and shuffle them. Our attackers are pretty efficient, so we don't have to worry about playing Sada every single turn, but generally we kind of want to play Sada, you know, our first turn that we can. Maybe second turn, but we play a hefty amount of boss's orders. We play 3, and the Prime Catcher effectively giving us 4 gusts a game. We also play the Bravery Charm. Now, you would think, since this is an Ancient deck, you would be playing Ancient Booster Capsule, because it gives you even more HP than Bravery Charm. However, we're not just playing Ancient Pokemon, we're playing a future, we're playing a present, Moltres, Squawkabilly EX, etc. Now, Squawkabilly is pretty squishy, so sometimes just having the option just to like protect it from some bench snipes is really good, or just like saying like, oh hey, I don't really want this to get sniped by some attack, or I just need a bulk with Gouging Fire just a little bit more. So I think that pretty much covers it. So, oh yeah, we have a 4 Steel Stones in here. We're playing Entei V, so why not? You could probably squeeze in an Arven, because Arven is like, especially if you're playing Max Belt in your deck, definitely put Arven in. I can't say what I would cut over it. Maybe like 2 Ionos or something, but Iono's really good in this deck too. That was my main issue. It's just Prime Catcher just kind of flowed a lot better. The Trekking Shoes are really good. So yeah, I think that about covers it. Let's go ahead and get into some games, and I'll show you how this deck rolls. It's a lot of fun. So hey, we're gonna get into some pre-recorded gameplay here. I really wanted to show you guys this amazing turn 1 potential you can get with this deck. I think it's really important to kind of figure out how you can really route this deck to get some explosive turn 1s out. Now, going first or second with this deck, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. Like, if you want to be safe, if you're worried about whiffing, go first. But if you can, I like to go second personally a lot of the time, because I just like using my supporter the first turn I can. Getting those Sada, Magma Basin, it's just a deadly combo. You pretty much just blow up anything in front of you. I want to show you how crazy you can pull that off. So we're going to go second here, making them go first. Not a big deal. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and lead with Squawkabilly, because a lot of our stuff needs to be on the bench in order to work. I didn't bench anything else for my hand because I don't really want them to like play like a Prime Catcher or something weird and kind of like mess up my flow, because then I'd have to get like another thing on the bench, or I have to like switch it twice. You know, that would be a little weird. And I'm just kind of having the foresight in order to prevent that from happening. Our opponent started with a Manaphy. Unfortunately, that isn't really going to do a whole lot against us in this matchup because we have no spread attackers. Here they come with the Klefki. Now, the Klefki has the ability Mischievous Lock. If it's in the active, our basic Pokemon have no abilities. It's really, really disruptive. Now, if they just only had a Klefki, this would have been pretty bad. We would have been locked down and they would have started, I guess, a little healthier. But they are an evolution deck, Gardevoir EX. So they kind of need Pokemon down to even like have their deck functioning. So they would have had to bench stuff anyways. So since Klefki's in the active, we can't even use Squawkabilly's ability. Huh, that's a tongue twister, ain't it? We can't even use Entei's ability either if it was in the active. So we have to move Klefki out of the active. So how are we going to do that? Well, we'd have to either bosses or Prime Catcher. So that's what we're kind of fishing for. We already had a Switch Cart in hand, don't need it. We got the Magma Basin, that's one of the key parts that we need. Let's just go ahead and Ultra Ball the fire energies away, because we need them in the discard. We need a Sada as well. Alright, we got the Entei V, Gouging Fire. We're going to go ahead and Magma Basin to the Entei V. And then we're going to place down Forest Sealstone. Now, Forest Sealstone itself has the ability. So that means we can still use it even if Klefki's in the active, because the tool has the ability, not the Pokemon. So we're going to go ahead and Boss's Order their only Ralts out. Play a Switch Cart, get Entei into the active, and then we're going to use Squawkabilly's ability, because now we're free from the lock. We got all 4 Sadas, which is a little unfortunate. Oh hey, we got the Prime Catcher now. Ain't that cool? Let's go ahead and just keep it. It's a really good card. We don't want to get rid of it. Thankfully, we did top deck the Jet Energy with Entei V's Fleet-Footed, and we managed to get set up despite the Klefki lock. Now, I could go ahead and just show you like the rest of the game. They do bring up the Klefki in order to try to slow me down, but I'm already set up. I can just press Burning Rado like 5 more times and win. We have the Prime Catcher. We could have just got bosses. I won the game. I'll just say that. I just thought this was a really good example on how you can kind of manipulate the board and like really get set up turn 1 despite the disadvantages. All right, here we go with our actual first real game one. This one's going to be a full match, not just a little demonstration. And as I said before, we generally like to go second, but if we go first, it's not really the end of the world. Now, this match is going to be against the deck that is called Ancient Box. It primarily features Roaring Moon, both of them, the regular holo and then the EX one. Here we go, we won the coin flip, and I decided to go second because I really like to use my supporter. And we can easily attack our first turn of the game. Got 2 Gouging Fires, so I guess it doesn't really matter which one we lead with. Just decided to not bench anything. I don't really think they can't Iono us or disrupt our hand, so it really didn't matter. They started the game off with a Radiant Greninja and a Dunsparce. Now, the Dunsparce, or well, Dunsparce right now, it evolves into the Dunsparce and it lets them draw a bunch of cards. I know this, so I'm going to be gunning for the Dunsparce. I don't really want to be attacking the Roaring Moon because Roaring Moon's attack does more damage for each ancient Pokemon in the discard pile. So I'm not going to help them by trying to take the knockout early. Because if I take the knockout, they're just doing even more damage to me. Managed to get a 4 Steel Stone in our starting hand, put that onto our Entei V, really good. We generally like to have energy in our discard pile, a little counterintuitive, but it's kind of like how Gardevoir functions where you need energy in the discard pile as well. I was thinking about it just to be safe, but then I was like, nah, I have the Magma Basin, I could probably just get a Jet Energy. Now, Iron Moth won't do enough damage, nor do I don't think we would have been able to even attack with it turn 1. Now sometimes you can if you have like the Sada and like perfect setup, but I just figured I'll just go ahead and get the Squawkabilly. I thought I had more Moltres in deck, so then I could potentially attack with Iron Moth because it would hit 140 with 2 of them. But unfortunately, one of them was prize and kind of messed up my plan. Not the end of the world. Because Iron Moth could still like knock out something like Radiant Greninja or the Dunsparce. So still having it, even though like it couldn't knock out a Roaring Moon, it's not the end of the world. Here I go. I'm looking for the Moltres, and then I'm going to go attempt to go grab another Moltres because I thought it was in deck. I didn't read the number, and I'm like, oh shoot. Well, Greninja, I guess. But you kind of see like how sometimes like you can't fit the Radiant Greninja on there, but we made it work. We made it work. We already have a Magma Basin up. I just want to try to get some Fire Energy in hand now. Just thin them out of my deck so I can use Radiant Greninja's ability. Gives me a less likelihood of just drawing more energy, even though I just drew more energy. Go figure. So we have the Switch Cart in hand, Energy in hand, Magma Basin's up. We can pretty much just swing into Entei and knock out the first Roaring Moon. But our Entei V does have a 4 Seal Stone. And I know their Dunsparce will draw them cards next turn. Or at least probably will. So I'm thinking. Because I never got the Sada. Weird hollow glitch there. You could see Greninja riding the Fire Energy. That's kind of strange. Alright, the idea is coming. We gotta go for that Dunsparce. We can't let them draw cards. I'm gonna go ahead and use Iono prematurely, just to make sure that like they have everything good in their hand. I just like took away. Maybe I give them a better hand, who knows? Don't really need another Iono. Probably won't be Ionoing them next turn. Probably just need to be playing Boss's Orders and Sada from the rest of the game, so it's pretty much free to sacrifice those guys. Just gonna keep on putting Fire Energy in our discard pile and removing them from our deck, because if we have less Fire Energy in our deck, means we have a higher potential of drawing better cards. So then I'm gonna go ahead and use Star Alchemy here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and grab that Prime Catcher. Prime Catcher lets us pick a Pokemon on our opponent's side, push into the active, and lets us put a Pokemon from our side into the active. Combos really, really well with Magma Basin. Here we go. Just go ahead and draw fleet-footed. We're in the active. Might as well. All right, that's one prize to go. We have 5 more. We got another 4 Seal Stone. Unfortunately, you can't use the V-Star twice. They're attempting to set up the Dunsparce. They place down the Artisan, which is kind of like a Nest Ball on a stadium. It's an interesting idea for an ancient box. I would probably say Pokestop's a little better, but it might have just been like a one-off stadium. Roaring Moon with Sada and Dark Patch is a really, really efficient combo. They can pretty much always have their attackers ready. Kind of like us. Except for their discard, like energy from discard to bench, is on an item rather than a stadium. So technically ours is a little more reusable, but it works about the same in practice. Yeah, they didn't really do a whole lot of damage to us. They only did 90. So here I'm thinking that they only really did 90. So they might be able to one-shot us, but they might not be able to one-shot us. Gouging Fire, however, does 60 damage. Dunsparce has 60 damage. Although it's going to be doing 70 because we have Moltres on our bench. So then I'm just kind of like, let's heal Entei and just poke their Dunsparce, just to prevent them from using their draw engine. I was thinking about it, but then I realized probably Switch Cart into Gouging Fire might have been better. Because I seriously doubt they would be able to knock out a, well, it has 210 right now. I doubt they would be able to hit 210 next turn. So let's go ahead and just poke with Heat Blast. Had the 2 energy on it, 70 damage, not too bad. We got another boss's orders from our prize card, so if they try to set up a Dunsparce again, we can cut them down. Or we could just go to the Radiant Greninja and stop that draw engine. But we would have to use Blaze Blitz or switch back into Entei V in order to knock them out. Or Iron Moth. Looks like they ran out of Dunsparce, so they're going to have to figure out a way to get them back into the deck and then back onto their bench. Explorer's Guidance, they're going to try to get some more ancient cards into their discard pile to attempt to do more damage to me. I think they put like 3 ancient cards in discard pile. The effect's really quick. You don't really get to see those. You don't get to see all those cards very long. All right, they snagged the Super Rod, putting 2 Dunsparce back into their deck. They have another Nest Ball. They're really trying to get that draw engine going. Now they'll be poking me for a decent amount of damage, but definitely not enough to knock out my Gouging Fire. So they're just going to go ahead and try to take some prizes. And they got rid of my Iron Moth. Not a big deal. We do have a Super Rod Nest Ball in hand, so we can pretty much get this guy back anytime we want. But we don't really need him right now, because the Roaring Moon has an Ancient Booster Capsule, boosting its HP up to 200 damage. So unfortunately, Iron Moth wouldn't be able to knock out the Roaring Moon when it has that much HP. But we can just boss his orders, Heat Blast again. Went ahead and used Magma Basin onto my Moltres because I was thinking about maybe if I need to use Iron Moth again. I just want to make sure I have energy spread out across my field. And Iron Moth can just pull from any fire Pokemon, or I think it could just do any fire energy across the board. It doesn't matter who it's attached to. So yeah, I went ahead and Super Rod a Moltres and an Iron Moth back in the deck. We do need another space free on our bench in order to get the Moltres and the Iron Moth in order to try to knock out a Roaring Moon. So we're just gonna have to wait till something else gets knocked out. Hopefully not another Moltres. That'd be weird. And kind of mean. Here comes in another Roaring Moon. But they just placed down the Roaring Moon EX with an Ancient Booster Capsule, hitting 290. So now we would have to have had 3 Moltres on our bench in order to knock it out. However, when I was showing you the deck, I do have a Lost Vacuum in this list, just for scenarios like this. So basically, we just need to get a Lost Vacuum at some point in order to take the knockout on the Roaring Moon. Now, the Roaring Moon doesn't have to use Frenzied Gouging. Ooh, I hate that attack name. It can just use this little, its secondary attack, which hits 220 if there's a stadium in play. And unfortunately, we had to use Magma Basin on ourselves, so we are below 220, unfortunately. So yeah, if we had a fresh and healthy Gouging Fire, or if we had a Bravery Charm on it, it would have lived the attack, and they would have had to have used Frenzy Gouging, which would have just made our retaliation attack that much easier. I just went ahead and put Entei V into the active. And now I'm thinking, oh geez, how am I going to do enough damage to knock this guy out in one go? Because their bench isn't full, and my bench isn't either. So Entei V is not doing enough damage to take the knockout. Well, I got to get another Gouging Fire up and ready. But we got Magma Basin and Sada's Vitality in hand. We already used our V-Star power. We don't need the Force Seal Stone anymore. And I just kind of quickly looked to see if there was any fire energy. I probably could have scanned through my deck just to make sure I know exactly what's in deck right now. Use Magma Basin. Use Professor Sada. Because we don't have any fire energy in our deck, so we had to get the jet energy. Put the Bravery Charm just to make our Gouging Fire just a little bit bigger. Jet energy to come into the active. And now the last thing I need is the Lost Vacuum in order to take the knockout right now. So I'm going to go ahead and try my hardest to fish for it. Risky move to use Radiant Greninja's ability on I think our last jet energy in deck. But if we get it, and we did, we're gonna be able to take 2 prizes right now. So then we just have to take 1 more knockout, and we have an Entei V on the bench, ready to go. And we have our boss's orders in hand, so we can just go ahead and just grab a Radiant Greninja. Yep, take away the ancient booster. And smack this guy for 270. Oh, well, there we go. We have another jet energy in hand too, so they can't even disrupt us. Guess I probably could have played Iono to try to do something. All right, and they conceded. That was a really nice game. It was a little closer than you might think, because maybe they did Iono us, and then they stuck. I couldn't get in and out of the active because I had to use the 270, which means I can't attack again. So I would have had to retreat into an attacker ready to go, and my only attacker ready to go was Entei, and it probably wasn't doing enough damage to knock out a Roaring Moon. So I don't know. They might have been able to squeeze out a victory, but they conceded, unfortunately. So yeah, all right, let's go ahead and get into game 2. Alrighty, next game up is going to be against Incineroar EX. So thankfully, I already know what this card does, and it has the ability that says for each of my bench Pokemon that its attack cost gets lowered. So I can kind of play around that by limiting how many Pokemon I have on my bench. I'm going to go ahead and go second because we like to use our supporter and attack as soon as we can. I was debating about putting Entei V in the front because I could just go ahead and immediately draw a card with it, but then I was like, I got the Magma Basin. Just want to go ahead and confirm the attack 100%. Because unfortunately, Entei V is not an ancient Pokemon, so we can't sell it to it. It would be incredible if we had Welder. Incidentally, if we had Welder, I think Incineroar EX would actually be a really crazy powerful deck. And Dragapult EX when it comes out. It's not quite out yet. I actually did make a video covering Incineroar, just like the regular one, the same one that came from the set that Litten is from. It was in the Silver Tempest format, so it's a little old, but I do remember making that. It was one of my first videos I made. So who knows? Maybe I'll go ahead and do an Incineroar EX video too. I really do like fire decks. I'm a big fan of fire decks and grass decks. It's pretty much all I play. All right, got the Forest Seal Stone, got the Magma Basin. I'm just like cracked with getting the Forest Seal Stone. I only play 2 of them in my deck, but I just somehow always get it. Just going ahead and using the Nest Ball to look through all the cards in my deck, just to make sure I make the right plays. Wasn't really anything I needed to grab, because remember, the more Pokemon I have on my bench, the stronger Incineroar gets, and I don't want that to happen. I want them to struggle for their attack. However, since I'm a fire deck and I'm playing Magma Basin, they like playing Magma Basin too. But I started with Entei V, and I don't really want to bench Gouging Fire. So it was a tough call. Maybe if I had started with Gouging Fire, it would have been a little easier. But we'll make it work. We'll make it work. Don't worry. Went ahead and played the Prime Catcher early, just to go ahead and get their Bidoof down. It was a tough call. I went for the Bidoof first because I knew that the Pidgey and the Littens both needed a rare candy, and I was like, no shot that they could get both. I mean, I guess it would have been plausible. It's just highly unlikely. I saved my V-Star power for now because I didn't really know what I wanted to grab in the moment. Because, you know, maybe they'll Iono me and it would just be wasted. I play 2 Entei Vs and I play 2 Forest Seal Stones. So even if this Entei V got knocked out somehow, it's not the end of the world. Oh, see, they did have the Bid Barrel in hand, so it was a good call. They're probably like scrambling to think, oh, geez, what the heck can I do? They went ahead and grabbed a Rotom. They're going to have to waste a turn in order to use its ability. Draw 3, end your turn. Similar to the old Zacian V. But the old Zacian V was a really good attacker and accelerated energy. If those if those 3 cards you drew were like metal, you could accelerate them. Crazy card, crazy card. I don't know what they were thinking when they printed that guy. All right, using Earthen Vessel on a fire energy. We like fire energy in our discard pile, and we like taking fire energy out of our deck. I was thinking about it. Maybe Professor Sada would be good, but we don't have any ancient Pokemon in play, so maybe it'd just be better just to go ahead and get another card. Hey, we got another Earthen Vessel. No harm in that, right? Yeah, let's just go ahead and get another fire energy in our discard pile. We only had 1 more in deck. Seems like we had some fire energy prized. Because we have 3, 2, 2. Yeah, I think there's one in our prizes. I was thinking about maybe using Star Alchemy in order to boss's order something. But then I'm kind of like, I really want this Pidgey off the board because I don't really want them to have any support. Figured I might as well just play energy from hand, you know. Yep. Just wanted to be safe. Now, I could have gone for the Litten and like slowed them down a little bit because, you know, that was the only one with energy on it. I just really didn't want their Pidgeot EX in play because I would have to have 2 Moltres down and then a Gouging Fire down, accelerate those, and then Incineroar now gets attack for free. So it was a bit of a tough call. Not really, actually. I think it was a pretty logical choice I made. Here they come with the Arven. So they might be grabbing TM Devo or maybe like a choice band. Oh, they got a Force Seal Stone for their Rotom V. It seems like they're playing the Charizard EX engine for Incineroar. I might try to build my own Incineroar deck, see if that engine works well for this, but I might try a different route. I won't spoil my ideas yet, but I'll be coming up with something. Here comes out the Incineroar EX, and they went ahead and used Rotom V's ability again. Really weird. I guess I had no way to get it out of the active, but I'm pretty much free just to go ahead and punish them right now. See, they used the Magma Basin twice. They have the Incineroar ready. I have 2 bench Pokemon down. They just need to attach 1 more Fire Energy from hand in order for it to attack. So I said, all right, they're going to be able to attack me next turn. I should just try to get this Rotom V off me right now. Just take 2 more prizes, then I just have to knock out the Incineroar, and then I win the game. They had a really slow start here, but the Incineroar is pretty bulky. But this is kind of why I think like Charizard EX is just like vastly better than Incineroar, because Charizard EX, when it evolved, it could have accelerated the energy to the Rotom V, then it could have accelerated the energy to itself. So, yeah. I think Incineroar EX is, like, upside is that you can play it with the rest of the Incineroar engine, with the Littens and the Gritty Claws, with the Relicat. But it didn't really seem like they were playing that style of Incineroar. So we're just going to go ahead and come into the active and blow up this Rotom V. I put the Bravery Charm on Gouging Fire by kind of mistake, because I saw that Incineroar did 240 and I was like, oh, okay, I should live, right? I didn't read the under part of Incineroar's attacks. It actually burns you after it attacks. So I thought I was gonna live, but they were able to come back and retaliate regardless. It wasn't the end of the world, but I did get a little overconfident there. So that means Incineroar is actually doing about like 260, which is the exact number of HP I have right now. I really do like the artwork for Incineroar EX and Gouging Fire here. Although my Gouging Fire has the HP marker, the damage markers, the buffs up and downs, and the Bravery Charm. So you can't even see what my card is. At least with the V's, you know, they're like mostly a full picture, so you can kind of see them with all the little markers on them. But the EXs, they just get really cluttered really quickly. I hope Live gets a UI rework. Although I think it's nice to be able to see all the pieces on a card at a glance. It just kind of looks unappealing. They had a Lost Vacuum anyways. So they would have knocked me out regardless, but they would have burned me. So actually, did they forget that their attack burns as well? That was really weird. Why did they Lost Vacuum? Like, I didn't even V-Star yet, so they must have forgot that the attack burns. So that was like just a weird misplay from both of us. It's kind of funny. Now that I think about it, when I was playing, I actually didn't even catch that they used Lost Vacuum. I was just like in my head, I was like, oh no, it burns. But it's okay. We're just gonna have to 2-hit KO, and that's not the end of the world. This might have been where this matchup might be where Max Belt would have been a little better. But you couldn't have Prime Catchered early. And then you would have to have the match bell in hand at the exact time, and then, you know, yada, 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 etc. So, while Max Belt is really good for just blow you up now, Stage 2 EX, get out of my face, it's a little hard to pull off. Sometimes it is just better just to like disrupt the Stage 2 decks, because that's their big weakness, is that they have to evolve. So if you can kind of like cut down their engines and their evolving basics like fast enough, that a lot of the time you can start winning the prize trade, even if they start retaliating and blasting you back and taking 2 prizes each time. I went ahead and just put an Entei V back into the deck so I can like Ultra Ball 4 Seal Stone it back. Yeah, there we go. Let's go ahead and grab the Entei V, place it down, put down a 4 Seal Stone. Now this could have been a misplay if they played 2 Lost Vacuum, but I pretty much I figured that they only played 1. Most decks only really play 1. Sometimes 2. I like to have 2, but if I can't squeeze in 2, you know, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, just gonna go ahead and just attack with Burning Rondo, taking them up to 180. I could pretty much 2-hit KO them back with pretty much anything on my board at this point, except for I guess Iron Moth. Wait, yeah, 120. 300. I have 2 Moltres in play. Yeah, so if they knocked out my Entei V, I could have theoretically had 2 Moltres down and still knocked out with Iron Moth. So yeah, I pretty much put them in a situation where if they leave their Incineroar in the active, I checkmate. So they're forced to retreat their Incineroar EX and to a backup attacker. And their backup attacker of choice is going to be the Radiant Charizard. Now I might try out Heatran for Incineroar EX deck, because I kind of like the Magma Basin like Heatran combo. But I guess Radiant Charizard is a good choice too. Very solid. They say it doesn't really take a whole lot to power up whenever you're behind like this. It's really deadly with a choice band, because then it hits some pretty good numbers. Yeah, they're thumbs up and thinking like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna get you, I can knock you out with anything. But then I top deck boss's orders and win. Not just yet. I got a fleet. I gotta get an energy in hand. That's not an energy. That's not an energy either. Because I'm pretty sure they Iono'd me. So they're at the bottom. So I needed a way to like shuffle the deck and try to get them. But unfortunately, I just didn't. The last thing I got off the Trekking Shoes was a Nest Ball. So then I'm just kind of like, I know there's one in deck. So I still have my V-Star ability up. It's still up. So I can go ahead and boss's orders and use Star Alchemy to just grab the last energy I need. I fleet-footed just to try to see if maybe I get it, so I don't have to use my V-Star power for the game, but we pretty much confirmed the checkmate with our V-Star power. So sometimes it's really good just to hold your V-Star power till later in the game, just to get the last little piece you need. And then boom, we're gonna hit him with 180, and we take the game. There we go. You know, we did have one fire energy prize. Solid game. Fire versus fire, but our fire just burned that much hotter. Alrighty, last game of the day, and it is going to be against FutureBox. Now, FutureBox primarily features the Pokemon Iron Hands EX, which has the attack that does 120 damage, and if it knocked out something, you get to take extra prizes. They can boost their damage with Iron Crown in order to take it up from 120. I think they can get up all the way up to like 200 to 220. I think they can get to 220 if they have all the Iron Crowns and a booster out. So if we don't Magma Basin, they can't take extra prizes. But all our little support Pokemon like Radiant Greninja and Iron Moth, Iron Hands can take extra prizes on us, which can kind of affect our prize trade. Just means they have an easier prize trade against us. But we decided to go second, which means we can get the first attack off. The Iron Boulder there, now it has a 240. We can easily get that guy. Now we might not be able to get it with Entei V because they would have to have a full bench. Sometimes they do get a full bench setting up. You know, I didn't reveal exactly what I'm playing, but if I'm playing a Squawkabilly with fire sleeves, they're probably going to assume I'm playing Gouging Fire. There he is, the Iron Hands, like I mentioned. He does have another attack, Arm Press, which does 160, but they can boost that up with the Future Booster Energy and their Iron Crowns. Alright, see, this is why it's really important for us to go second in this matchup, because the Miraidon can't attack us first turn, so they can't accelerate their energy. It does 40 damage, and then they get to pick 2 basic energy cards from their deck and attach them to the Pokemon any way they like. And they mistakenly led Miraidon, so now we can go ahead and try to, you know, punch them out real quick just to try to deny them some energy on the field. But their Future Booster Energy not only lets them do more damage, gives them free retreat. So the Iron Boulder is always going to be a free retreat pivot, so they can go ahead and try to Miraidon us again next turn. Gonna go ahead and set up our field over here. I wanted to go ahead and like get an Iron Moth because we can just go ahead and knock out Miraidon with Iron Moth. Because we got the Gouging Fire. We just need a Magma Basin out. Let's go ahead and use the Trekking Shoes. Or we could just go ahead and just sacrifice the Trekking Shoes. I guess we could have played it, but I didn't want to have to get something I didn't want to sacrifice off it. So I just figured it'd just be safer just to discard it and get 2 fire off of it. Putting those 2 fire in our discard pile, getting our second Gouging Fire, and then we're going to Sada 1, 2. We got the fire energy in hand and the Switch Cart. So now the Iron Moth can pull the fire energy from both our Gouging Fires, circumventing the need for Magma Basin. Here we go. Take those 2 fire energies with our Thermal Reactor ability and attach them to our Iron Moth. And go ahead and swing into Miraidon. Oh, but we can go ahead and use Squawkabilly's ability as well. Now we got some Trekking Shoes. Just put that in the discard pile. We need more in our discard pile. We don't really need another Gouging Fire. We already have 1 in hand and 2 on our field, so it's getting a little excessive. Yeah, we can go just sacrifice the Gouging Fire and a fire energy. We have a Super Rod in hand, so if we need another Gouging Fire for some reason, we can go ahead and get it. Got the Entei V for some Forest Seal Stone support when we need it. I really love Entei V on this deck. Has a really good primary ability, great attack, great HP, Forest Seal Stone compatibility. Incredible card. That retreat cost, terrible. Three is just really awkward, but we do play Switch Cart and we do have Jet Energy, so it's not the end of the world. Just sometimes they kind of get stuck in the active if they went in like Boss's orders it like real quick just to try to stall. They're gonna go ahead and use Techno Radar to go ahead and try to get another Miraidon down on their bench because they really need to use that attack in order to get energy accelerated across their field. Now, they could potentially knock out my Iron Moth with Miraidon, I believe. So they do like 40, 60, 80, 100, 120 booster. Yeah. Do they have the bench space for it? I'm terrible at mental math, guys. I'd have to pull up the calculator. So I was a little worried. I was like, oh man, they might be able to accelerate energy and take a knockout on Iron Moth. Like it would be possible. But thankfully they didn't. And they're only going to poke us for 60. Alright, they did 60 damage. Unfortunately, Iron Moth can't use Heat Ray this turn, so we're going to have to go ahead and switch out with a different Pokemon. But we got Entei V and a Jet Energy and a Magma Basin and a Boss's Orders. So now I'm kind of like, ooh. I don't know if we could do enough damage to knock out their Iron Hands with Entei V. So I kind of had to go ahead and use Sada and see what we could do off that. And fortunately, we did actually get the Prime Catcher. Now, we could have used Forward Seal Stone in order to get it off as well. But we were able to hold our Forward Seal Stone for now. And then we need to go ahead and Prime Catcher now. And then, so we needed to Prime Catcher now because if we played Jet Energy beforehand, we would have put the Gouging Fire in the active, and then we'd have to switch our active with something else, which maybe we'd have to like retreat Iron Moth. So in order to save us some energy on our board, we had to do it in that specific order because you can attach Jet Energy to the active Pokemon. It just does nothing. It just acts as one colorless. And we go ahead and cut down the Iron Hands. Unfortunately, we didn't get the vacuum in order to prevent the baton from working, because now they can just go ahead and move that energy to different Pokemon, which is going to be their other Iron Hand. So basically, we didn't really accomplish a whole lot with that. I guess we probably could have gone for the Iron Crown, but limiting how many Iron Hands they have in deck, I felt like was just a better move. And you know, we're kind of rolling the risk of getting the Lost Vacuum. Ideally, we would have wanted to have Lost Vacuum there. That Iron Boulder just being a free retreat, really bulky free retreat pivot. I generally don't like Iron Boulder, but I guess if you use it as that, I guess that's kind of safe. Oh man, we got Iono'd. Being Iono'd with this deck is really, really bad. Like I said, pretty much our only like secondary draw options are going to be Entei V's ability, Greninja. And if we use both of those, that's only 3 a turn. Now we could use Sada to draw another 3, and that's like 6. You know, so it's not the end of the world. But being Iono'd with this deck, if we get like really bad cards off Iono, we can just get kind of stuck because we can't use Blaze Blitz again, and our only other available attacker right now is Iron Moth. So we're going to need to have a energy in hand. Really interesting cards my opponent was playing. I'd never had seen that Iono art, and I thought that gold Iron Crown looked kind of cool. All right, they did not take extra prizes. They had to use the Arm Press because that was the only attack that would have done enough damage in order to knock out our active Pokemon. I went ahead and led with Iron Moth because I can't just retreat it. I already have the energy on it, and most of our stuff needs to be on the bench. So just taking a look at our available Pokemon. We could just get another Moltres down just to do some extra damage, but it wasn't really doing a whole lot. I guess we could have got Entei, or because we didn't have another Gouging Fire, so we couldn't get 2 from our discard pile. Got the Jet Energy off the Sada. Come swinging into the active with another Blaze Blitz. Our Magma Basin is active. I guess we could probably just go ahead and use it on our Entei V down here. just to ensure we have another attacker for next turn. I just held off with my hand right now. Wasn't really anything else we needed. Like, what would we get off the Ultra Ball? Like, we basically have like nothing in deck at this point. There's our Lost Vacuum. That's why we couldn't get it. It was in our prizes. But now we only need to take one prize in order to win the game. Their side of the field's looking pretty rough. The reboot pod's not even really going to help them out in this situation. But what could they do in this situation? Well, they could try to peak acceleration, but then that would just put them in dead water, because then I'd just come in with Iron Moth and just knock them out again. I guess if they had a Bravery Charm, the Miraidon could have been able to accelerate to another attacker, but they would need to take 4 prizes, and that just doesn't seem very likely. They would have had to have, like, Boss's Orders or Iron Moth, peak acceleration, have a Iron Hands, and then like another Boss's Orders in order to get our Squawkabilly and win that way. I don't even know if they would have had enough time for it. Yeah, because my Gouging Fire just would have came in and swung, took the last prize. But they're getting some grass energy on the board because they're playing Iron Leaves. Iron Leaves has a really similar ability to Iron Moth, but it's even better because it's an EX. It says whenever you place it from your hand onto your bench, you can go ahead and push it into the active and move any amount of energy from your other Pokemon to it. And since it's a future Pokemon, its damage gets increased from Iron Crown and future booster energy. However, it is a grass Pokemon, and I am a fire deck. So here comes Iron Moth. It's just going to hit it for super effective, and we're going to take our last prize. We didn't even have to work for it. Yeah, I just went ahead and benched another Moltres just to hit it for 280 damage. Crazy. We traded really, really well with future hands there. We played a pretty nice game. Their future box was very box-like. They had a lot of different attackers. I wouldn't say it's really a future hands deck. It was definitely a future box deck. Kind of interesting idea. I like the reboot pod play with the Iron Leaves. If they maybe had taken a couple more prizes, maybe that would have been a good play, but we pretty much put them in checkmate a long time ago.